This is Marty Stewart with SeminarSecrets.com. You can hear the complete version of this big seminar interview by going to www.SeminarSecrets.com.
Okay, great. Folks, again, we're going to get the call started here about another 30 seconds. Give everyone a little to jump on the call. But prior to actually getting started and talking with Fred, we want to talk to you about the big seminar briefly. And the big seminar, as many of you know, is a seminar that's been going on in the next few weeks, actually down in, I should say over in San Francisco. And we put together 13 of the top marketers in the world, and they're going to be teaching you for 3 full days how to succeed online, how to build your own internet marketing business in a successful way. Now, I mean, how many times have you often wanted to know the secrets that people that are successful already marketing on the internet and what they do on a daily basis? Well, that's your chance right now to do that. These people will teach you for 3 days. You'll have full access to them. They'll be teaching you people like Fred Gleeck, like Joe Vitale, Alex Mondosian, Declan Dunn, Jonathan Mizell, Carl Galletti, Randy Chirac, Kurt Christensen, Frank Guerin, Frank Kern, Ted Ciuba. And the list goes on. There's a few more I'm probably missing in there, but that's just off the top of my head. And those people are all going to be there with one specific purpose in mind, and that is to teach you the ins and outs of how to build a successful and long-term business on the internet. And the key part is that if you want to take your business to the next level, then the big seminar is where you need to be at this point in your marketing career. And it's very simple. If you don't know about it, if you haven't seen it yet, click on the link that the person that referred you to the site, and actually simply click on it, go to the site. You can read all about the speakers. You can hear them right there on the website, and then simply just click the order button, and you can reserve your seat today for the seminar. It's quick. It's simple. And I can tell you what, it's going to be a jam-packed event. We have well over 200-plus people that are going to be there. I believe the number is about 225 or so at this point. And it's going to be a huge event. We have some of the top marketers in the world, not only speaking on the stage, but sitting in the audience. There's several other people that are going to be there, like Alex Sampson, Len Thurman, Ryan Dice is going to be there. There's surprise guests that are going to be coming in. I can tell you this, it's going to be a great event. It's really the who's who of internet marketing going to be at this conference. So we're really excited about that, as you can tell. But tonight's call is about one person. It's about Fred Gleeck, and let me tell you a little bit about Fred. If you don't know who Fred is, Fred has created over 250 different products in many different niche markets for not only himself but for his clients as well. And he has a system as far as developing products that is different than probably anything you've ever heard before. And when you listen to Fred tonight on this call, you're going to see very quickly that he knows what he's talking about, and he knows what he's doing, and he can show you really how to create your own products in no time at all. He has many different methods. We're going to talk about many different subjects on this call. So again, if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper, what I want you to do is grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, open up a notepad on your computer, open up a Word document, however you use to take notes. Take notes, because this is going to be a great call. And we're going to get a lot of information, as much as we can, out of Fred in the next 60 minutes. So with that, Fred, welcome to the call this evening.
Great, Armand. Thank you for having me.
Well, Fred, many people, as I've done several of these calls, and many people always want to know the same question, and so I'm going to ask you that same basic question about yourself personally first, and that is, what did you do before the Internet?
Well, before the Internet, I was doing a lot of offline marketing. Let's take it back even a little bit further. My parents wouldn't pay for me to get my degree in theater, so I went all the way through and got a master's in international business because my parents would pay for that. So I was slumming off them all through graduate school. And after I got out of grad school, I went to work in New York City for a Fortune 500 company and kept getting fired repeatedly by major Fortune 500 companies until I became unemployable. At about that time in the early 80s, I saw a guy do an event on starting your own consulting business, a guy named Howard Shenson, who became a mentor of mine. And when I started to do that, I admired him a lot, but I said, I think I can do that seminar as well or better than he can. So I started doing a lot of business seminars, and from that, I quickly understood that when people gave and delivered seminars, the big money was not made from the actual seminar itself. It was made from the sale of products and services that occurred at or during that event. So I set about to start developing as many of my own products as possible. So within the first probably 2 months of doing my first seminar back in 1983-84, I already had products. So the way that I got started is I got started, obviously, like most of us did, marketing offline and developing some of the techniques that are now used online as well, but just in a slightly more high-tech environment. So I got started creating products because of the necessity to create a larger revenue stream every time I spoke or was invited to speak in front of a group. So that's how I got going.
Well, there's one of the things that I think that many people don't know, but you actually helped you developed and put out the first infomercials out there in the marketplace.
I wouldn't say the first infomercial, but I'd say one of the first infomercials ever put together on a non-real estate topic. In 1985, I, with my ex-partner, who's now gone on to do literally probably close to 100 infomercials and sell $1 billion worth of products in infomercial, I put an infomercial on the air, which started me, really to gain a pretty great interest in video production and how videos could be used as one of your products. We lost a lot of money on that venture, but learned a whole lot. Obviously, my partner learned a little bit more than me because he went on to become the king of the infomercial business. So, but I did get a pretty good education. That was back in 1985, where I was marketing and selling a lot of my own products on that infomercial, and learned some of the things to do, some of the things not to do, but certainly learned a whole lot about production.
Now, in production, that's something because, in talking with you and seeing many of your products out there and knowing you as a personal friend, you have a unique way of putting together your products. In fact, just so everyone understands, you actually create your products and you like to distribute them in a raw form.
Well, yeah. A lot of people, again, I think that if people listening sort of think about it, you have to sort of ask yourself, and it's funny because I'll give you an example of something I'm doing right now as we speak. I went over to a good friend of mine, Paul Hartunian's house, about a week ago today, and he and I recorded a program because Paul told me that he'd been doing eBay for the last, since it was called Auction Web back in '93.
Wow.
And I said, well, how are you doing? He says, well, in the last 10 days, I made over $5,400 just cleaning out my closets of information products that I had sitting around. And I said, man, could you show me exactly what you're doing, and let me bring over the tape recorder. So I brought over the tape recorder and sat there. And by the way, for those of you who are looking for very high-tech devices, when you're recording simple voice and audio, in an audio form, I don't care if you have a DAT recorder or some other fancy device. Again, the quality of the recording isn't all that important as long as it's decent to listen to, as opposed to, if you were doing music recording, then you've got to have all kinds of fancy stuff. So I believe in just sort of a low-tech approach, which is usually the easiest and least likely to break down. So I brought my Morin recorder over to Paul's house, and he walked me all through this. And as soon as the tapes were done, we went down into his basement where he's got a duplicator, made him a set because he has the rights to market those as well. I took mine set back and got onto my list, and the day before yesterday made an offer, and I'm sitting here with about, I think it's close to 60 or 70 sets of these suckers sitting around here waiting to go out. And it was done with absolutely no editing. I turned the machine on. I started talking to Paul. At the end of the tape, I said, turn the tape over to the other side. Some of the people listening are probably saying, wow, that's pretty antiquated. Aren't you using digital delivery? Well, yeah, we're going to take these and digitize them. But in terms of most people, I'm finding most people still listen to a lot of cassette tapes. Can I turn them into CD-ROMs? Absolutely. Is it possible, to take these into the studio and do a lot of fancy editing work and do a lot of work? Yes, but people aren't paying for that. They're paying for the specific how-to content. And I'll tell you that my stuff, and I think the proof is in the numbers, which is that over the past almost 20 years now, since I've been marketing my products, I have gotten less than 1/5 of 1% rates of return. It just never happens, and that's a tribute, I think, to the fact that the products that I produce are packed with usable content. And that's an example of how I did it with Paul, where we didn't need to do any editing because people aren't paying for fancy intro and outro music. They're paying for the how-to information. And I have never had anyone complain to me that they didn't get what they paid for. And that's what it comes down to for me.
I think that's really important for people to know. I mean, you're not in that only crowd. I mean, as far as the raw material, because I think many people have that firm belief. some few quick examples: Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, and many of the top marketers out there, and you truly believe in the raw format because it's more. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. More bare bones.
More cinema verite, as they'd say in the film business.
I can't say that word.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just one of those things where you're not getting it. And when I go listen to tapes myself, and I do a lot of, I'm a big, consumer of information products as well.
Right.
When I listen to a seminar that's been recorded, I don't want to hear the edited version. I want to hear the unedited version. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had a consulting job at CBS. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but Letterman had Madonna on one time where she said a few interesting words. Well, it was much more interesting when the CBS personnel handed me a copy, and I still have it, by the way, of the unedited Madonna interview. Now, I'm sure anybody listening right now, whether you like Madonna or not, it would certainly be more interesting to listen to an unedited version of that interview than an edited version. Although, in our case, we're talking about information. It's the same holds true. You want to see it as it really happened, as it really occurred, warts and all, without any modification, without any adulteration, without any switching or changing, because you want to get the experience like you were right there sitting next to me and Paul, or me at an event, or whatever. So that's how I see it. I mean, that's my read. I mean, I'm sure very, very smart people will disagree on this, but that's how I view it.
Yeah, and the bottom line is it works. It works. It works for you, and you've proven it time and time again over the years.
Right, and it works because you've proven it with the numbers. I mean, if it didn't work, I'd be getting large volumes of returns, because that would be the market then would be telling me, wait a second, I've got to do something different. But with the infinitesimal rates of return that I get on these hundreds of products, and by the way, I was actually totaling it up. I think the number now is probably closer to 500 in terms of all the audio, video, and other kinds of materials I produce for myself and for other people. And because it's just something I love to do. I like doing it for me. I like doing it for others. It's fun to do. And so, yeah, it is working, at least from my standpoint.
One of the things that you mentioned was that you said that you're an avid buyer of information products themselves. In fact, one of the things that I know about you is that when people come to your house, they usually raid your library.
Yeah. It's funny because as Paul was going through this program with me, he was clearing out. So I'm going to go through my own library in Vegas where I think my latest total was something around like $220,000 worth of information products that I have bought over the last 20 years that sit in my library in Las Vegas right now. And by the way, those of you listening, the beauty about doing and creating information products, I was on the bus today. I have a place here in the New Jersey, right across the river from New York City. And I have to take a bus into New York City, and I do that, on a regular basis. I'm sitting next to a guy who's doing this very, very fancy embroidery stuff, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And so we got to talking about our businesses, and I said, well, give me an idea. What is your cost of goods versus your sales price? And he said, well, generally I can get maybe a 300% markup. And I thought, okay, so you make it for $1, you sell it for $3. I said, in most of my cases, I sell it, I make it for $1 and sell it for $20. And his mouth just dropped open because the beauty of being in the information products business is I maintain, a residence out here right in the New York City area, and then I have a place in Las Vegas. And I go back and forth based on the seasons. I don't think I could do that with any other business other than the marketing of information because it affords me not only the dollars, but the freedom because I have someone else fulfilling the product in most cases, except for something like the new one that I just did. But it allows me to have all kinds of freedom to live life as I want. And you know how I am, Armand. I mean, I like, I'm a big theater buff. I go see the shows, but I'm also the kind of person that I hate cold weather. When it starts to get below 40 degrees or even 50 degrees, I'm miserable. I'm angry. And I just want to get out of there. So I run away from New York City when it starts to get cold, and I go to Vegas. And for people listening on this call who are not yet selling information, it can afford you, an incredible amount of freedom and a lifestyle depending on what it is that you want to do. But you need a system, and that's what it's all about. And that's why the big seminar, and as you know, Armand, I've cut down my schedule of speaking at seminars, and yours is one of the few that I eagerly await and anticipate every, X number of months that you do them because it's done so well. And for those of you who haven't yet signed up, I have to tell you that Armand and I are going to be doing a program, in October that we'll talk about. seminar on how to do seminars, Armand has learned very quickly how to produce really high-quality events because he understands that you need to, number one, produce an environment that is conducive to learning and also bring people in who are great teachers. And that's what Armand has done in the past and will continue to do. And obviously, from what I'm hearing, Armand, the numbers are reflecting how good a job you've done and are doing.
Yeah, we're doing we have a lot of great things. In fact, there's some great surprises that I'm not telling anybody about at the seminar. So you'll be impressed with this. So
okay, dancing bears maybe?
No, close.
Yeah.
You're close on that one.
Okay.
But Fred, one of the things that that you're not only you're known for, and obviously it's shown in products that you create, is your actual content. And I know you're a real big stickler when it comes to content. That you want to provide the best content and as much content as you possible, because you understand that people are spending their hard-earned dollars to receive that content from you.
Well, here's how I look at it. I try and put myself in the buyer's shoes. And I say to myself, okay, if I were to have bought this program, I buy programs all the time that I just listen to and I go, I can't believe that the person that produced this really was willing to ask people to pay money for this because it's vacuous. It's filled with fluff. I just think that fluffy programs aren't anything that people really want anymore. The American public, the American consumer, the person listening to this call right now is sick and tired of getting crap. When they pay for stuff, they want hardcore, usable information and content that they can put to use immediately. So I think that anybody who creates a product needs to keep that end in mind, which is you have to make sure that when it's all done, the person listening or watching or whatever they're doing, attending the event, must walk away with the tools to change their lives and do something different. And if they don't do that, or if they can't do that, then you have let them down. And given that everything I sell always comes with a lifetime money-back guarantee, I sure as heck better put my money where my mouth is. Because unless you produce good products, they will come back. I don't care how lazy we presume people to be, that they'll never put it in the box and send it back to you. If you produce a crappy product, people will return it. And I just think, from my own sense of personal integrity also, I don't want to produce anything that anyone could say to me, you know what, you just sort of skated along on that one. You just sort of did the least you had to do. I just don't work that way. And you may know this. I'm playing golf at the event. I grew up hoping to become a professional golfer. And I got to be the best golfer in the Philippines for my age group. Why? Because I decided that's what I wanted to do. I set my mind to it, and I practiced. And therefore, I have this competitive spirit. It has nothing to do with the money. It has everything to do with personal integrity and making something as good as you can make it. So when I set out to make a product, and I would hope that everybody listening on this call would have the same internal motivation, which is, and it's also a selfish one, Armand. Think about it. If I produce really great products, what's going to happen? People buy more.
Sure.
So if I do a good job, people will buy more of my stuff. If I do a lousy job, they'll never buy, and they'll tell everybody else I suck. And so that's what I don't want to have happen, and so that's my motivation for doing it right.
Well, one of the things I was actually doing a conference yesterday, and one of the comments that I made was this: is that you said two things that I said on the call. One is that the people that produce the crap products. Okay, it's funny that we use that terminology, but crap products. They'll actually eventually force themselves out of business.
Absolutely.
And the people, and what that does is it does a couple different things. No matter what they're selling that product for, the person that produces the high quality, content-driven product will be able to command a higher price for that product as well too.
Not only that, and obviously they'll get a heck of a lot more repeat business. People will come back to them because they'll go, wow, this was everything you promised me and more, and I will buy or try something you offer the next time you go to you come to me and ask me.
You have just listened to a portion of this Big Seminar interview. To get the complete version, simply go to www.seminarsecrets.com. Find out how you can attend the next Internet Marketing Big Seminar. And for a very special offer you can't refuse, visit www.seminarsecrets.com.